Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Greg, and today we are going to be working on a exercise that helps me identify positioning and size of the different features on the face and making sure that I'm putting them where they're supposed to be. That's something that I really wanted to focus on, so I'll show you what I'm doing. Hopefully you guys get some value out of it. Go ahead and like and subscribe if so. So I just pulled up an image of my own face. I took it on my phone camera. And what I'm going to do is draw this on a new layer. And I'll talk about how you can do this traditionally as well using a free app that I downloaded before I even got the tablet. I was doing this exercise without it was a little bit more tedious, but if you don't have a tablet, you could definitely do this traditionally. So what I'm doing, I just grabbed a new layer and a bold color that was going to stand out from the background, from my shirt, from my hair, skin color, things like that, and just freehand drew where I thought all the features should go. And I had a really tough time with this because I was trying to talk and draw at the same time. That's definitely something that I'm not super great at yet. But as I keep doing this, I will get better. So eventually, I will come to a point where I can draw and talk at the same time and give you explanations in real time. But yeah, so what I'm working on is just the positioning and size of the features. And while I'm doing this, I'm talking, and it's really difficult to focus at the same time, and it really brought me out of my flow as I was drawing. It put me in my head too much, and that's something that I want you guys to avoid, and I'll give you a little tip here. So if you find yourself critiquing too much, and you're too in your head and you're thinking about where each line should go, don't try and make those fixes as you're drawing. Just complete the drawing until it reaches a natural ending point. That might be 10 minutes, or that may be when you finish the entire sketch or something like that. Or it might just be when you take the next bathroom break, whatever. But until you are done with that, just don't critique it. Just leave it at that. And then once you're done with that, then you go. Once you have a completed drawing to a certain extent. So I've completed this drawing, and what I'm doing is just resizing the head so that it matches up with the head on here. So I didn't draw it the exact same size, but that's fine. So I'm just matching up the features here. I could tell my eyes are a little bit too small, my nose is a little bit too high up, and that pushes my mouth too high, a little bit higher, and my chin becomes bigger. And those are the things that I want to focus on here, or keep in mind for when I make the next drawing. Okay, and I'm just going to go with a different color on a new layer, trace it out here. This isn't 100% necessary, but I find tracing to be very useful as a tool to learn. I don't recommend you make art with it just because it's a little bit frowned upon to trace your artwork, but excellent learning tool. I highly recommend tracing as a learning tool. Okay, so I'll explain while I'm tracing it, I'll explain how to do this traditionally. There's this app that I downloaded on my phone called Snapseed. I use it sometimes to make my Instagram posts, to edit my photo, but it's a photo editing app, and there's this feature on there called double exposure, where you can take two images and overlay them on top of each other, and I use this to take a picture of my drawing and take a picture of the reference photo, or just bring the reference photo in, and once I have that, once I've identified that the images are taken completely flat, with this, there is the risk of skewing the image because of your phone tilt, but make sure that it's just taken flat. And then you could overlay the image one on top of each other, resize it exactly how I did with my face, and you can see where you made your own mistakes. Okay, yeah, so I was doing that before I had a tablet, but I highly recommend getting a tablet. This tablet that I am using, is called the Wacom Intuos S. It's a really small tablet, really cheap. There's a wired version that's a little bit cheaper, but I got the wireless one because I didn't want to be tied down to a cable. But very, very, very useful for learning. I've only been digital painting, digital drawing for about a month or two, and it might be one of the most useful art tools that I've bought in a while, for learning at least. So what I'm doing here, back to the image, is just comparing the drawn image to what I have there. And the simplified lines of the traced image are really going to be helping me out in identifying how I can make my lines for the next time. So after identifying that, you just want to go in for one final time, do that freehand drawing once again. Keeping in mind a couple of those things that you learned from the last time. So while I'm doing this, I'm keeping in mind my nose, making sure it's a little bit longer because my nose was too short, and trying to make sure that my eyes position is a little bit better, and making sure that my chin is a little bit smaller. But overall, this one I drew with a lot more confidence and speed, and I think it was just because I was out of my own head. I was focusing on that rhythm and maintaining that rhythm of drawing. And this might be with anything. Don't get in your head too much. Just find that right amount to focus on. Don't focus on too many things that were wrong with your image. I just had two things that I was focusing on. Just making the nose a little bit longer and getting the eyes a little bit better. Those were a couple of things that I was focusing on while I was making the drawing, but everything else I was doing more or less the same. Yeah, so I highly recommend this to you guys. Just give it a shot. And I know I'm making these things so that I can learn. I'm hoping it provides some value for you, but if there's one thing that you get out of this, it's to create your own lessons. So make lessons that apply specifically to you so that you can work on the things that you need to work on the most. So I know my own weaknesses the best, and I can pinpoint these lessons to focus on that, and I really, really encourage you to do the same thing. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining me on this video today. I know I don't have too many viewers, but each and every view is really appreciated. And if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe and like the video. And if there is any art challenge or something that I could be working on, go ahead and write them in the comments down below, and I'll be happy to read them. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.